Oh man, I screwed it up. I can't believe I went a little too early this time, and now everything's ruined. Let's do it again. No, I'm kidding. Hey, folks. Brenton Lengel here. I am the writer-creator of Snow White Zombie Apocalypse, which has been on Kickstarter, and we just finished a campaign for the 5th book. And I'm joined by another creator who's been like an absolute Kickstarter superstar. I remember when I was first doing Snow White Zombie, I was like looking at your work and being like, oh my gosh, this dude knows what he's talking about. So yeah, I backed several of your books, including The Quick and the Dead and the pirate spinoff of The Quick and the Dead.
The Curse.
The Few and Cursed.
The movie, though, The Quick and the Dead, great movie.
I was literally going to ask you if the title came from The Quick and the Dead, because yeah, I agree.
It was an influence. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, perfect. But you're doing a new thing now. This is Adagio. So yeah. Sorry, a little dyslexic here. So Adagio. my viewers know that. So, Felipe, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and your work, and then just real quick, and then we'll play the intro and we'll talk about that.
Sure. So, yeah, I'm Felipe Cagno, and I've done quite a few Kickstarters. I think like over 25 of them or something. I've been using the platform for 10 years, so a good decade for now. And there's been a lot of trial and error, and like you, Brenton, also when I started out, I had my favorite campaigns that I was mirroring and trying to learn stuff from, and it's flattering that you did that with my stuff. So I appreciate it. And yeah, so I my main series is The Few and Cursed. It's a post-apocalyptic supernatural western featuring a redhead, and like I said, the title was influenced by The Quick and the Dead, which is a movie I find it tacky just enough to make it good. It's such a good movie.
It's one of Leonardo DiCaprio's more underrated performances, actually.
Oh, absolutely. He was a teenager. He was so young. He was a kid, and it has such a great cast, because you have like people that went on to have fantastic careers, like Russell Crowe just playing like a smaller role, Leonardo DiCaprio as well, and then Gene Hackman just playing basically himself from Unforgiving again.
Yeah.
It's a terrific movie, and when I was looking for a title, I wanted something that resonated or that sounded like, it had the same nuances as The Quick and the Dead. So that's how I landed on The Few and Cursed.
Well, it's absolutely a phenomenal title, and and also what I've noticed about it is that the redhead, which is just a perfect thing, especially for Kickstarter to center on, had a lot in common with Rapunzel, who is the badass kung fu. She does she's basically a female Bruce Lee in a fairy tale zombie apocalypse. So the second I saw that, I was just like, okay, there could definitely be some crossover in our audiences. And, you actually, we swapped pledges very early, and you've been very helpful to the series. So, folks, my fans who are watching me, please go see Felipe, because, Swaza would probably not be doing as well without his wonderful help.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now let's see that we'll see the video real quick for everybody, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the new series. I'm really excited about this.
Sure, yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's get this started to go. And my God, you're killing it already.
Welcome to Adagio. All you need to do is dream. We will share it. Ever told anyone, I had the best dream last night? Or, I dreamed about you? What if you could record it, share it, post it online, so the world could watch your dreams? How about live stream it across the web? There's an app for that. And it changed the world. Dream anything. Watch anywhere. This is Adagio. The future of entertainment, right now. Nothing is more intimate and inviting than our dreams. Why make movies or series when you can stream serialized lucid dreams? No budget, no problems, no limits. Everyone can reach for fame and fortune. Can you dream what it takes? Are you our next star dreamer? Adagio is a safe and controlled virtual environment monitored by an AI algorithm that suppresses. Here you can enjoy the best dreams have to offer without fear, anxiety, or panic. Log in, pick a dreamscape, and let yourself fall asleep. We will do the rest. Sweet dreams. Adagio is a brand new sci-fi graphic novel, available now for a limited time only on Kickstarter.
Well, holy shit, you weren't kidding. That is a phenomenal intro. And you did that in only 1 minute and 30 seconds?
Yeah, I really tried to get it under 90 seconds. That's the goal when I wrote the script. And then I have a fantastic animator, terrific editor. I just, it helps that I had, like, the book is done. It has been published in Brazil already. So we had a lot of imagery to work with. So basically, when I was writing the script for the animated trailer, I was like, well, I literally can come up with anything I want because we have the images to support it. You know, it's a different scenario than when I'm launching something that I'm raising the funds to produce, which is usually the case with the Free and Cursed books. I'm usually raising the funds to then go out there and do the artwork and then go to print. But Adagio, the artwork has been completely done. It's a book that was very successful here in Brazil. I'm in Brazil right now, and we actually we were the recipient of a prestigious cultural grant back in 2017. So the book was paid by our Ministry of Culture in Brazil. So that was a nice validation. You know, I think they pick like 10 projects every year, and then Adagio back in 2017 was one of them, and then. Yeah, and then so when we published it in 2018, we had a distribution deal already, and we sold out the first printing. I actually need to go back this year to our local Kickstarter equivalent. You know, we have like a similar platform that's for Brazil only, and I'm going to raise funds to do the second printing. And I'm going to do the whole revised edition. Like, I'm going to use a lot of the new stuff that I came up with for the Kickstarter, you know, because here's the thing. Even though the artwork is done and I'm translating the book to English, it's an opportunity to improve on the work, you know, to some of the things that we had to rush to get to print on the date of the cultural grant. Some of those things that I'd love to revisit and do something a little bit different, mainly the book design. So a lot of the stuff that you see on the Kickstarter page, that's definitely going to be in the book, like the visual identity, the designs, and what have you. So
that's so exciting, particularly since obviously the book you have right now is Spanish language, correct?
It's in Portuguese. Yeah.
Oh, Portuguese. Okay, cool. Let's see. That's even more obscure, but I like it. So, you know, I had sort of an opposite problem in I have a series, my second one, which is Durruti, Shadow of the People, about real life anarchist Buenaventura Durruti, and you know, he's a Spanish anarchist, and so I actually linked up with his union, the CNT in Spain, and me and some other people created a Kickstarter. Purely in Spanish on Kickstarter, and that was a huge mistake. Like we did get it funded, which was great, but we had to put a lot more effort into it. And I learned at that point that not too many people on Kickstarter, unfortunately, speak Spanish. So they're definitely right when they tell you to make it bilingual. But yeah. So it's really cool that you're going from having a successful book already in Portuguese, and you're bringing it to an English-speaking audience through Kickstarter, which I think is just phenomenal. And you know, I'm looking at your pledges right now. You know, you asked for $7,312. You know, good beginning for a graphic novel. You're nearly over 20,000 right now.
Yeah, let's see if we can get to 20K by tomorrow.
We definitely will see about that. So, are there any? I'm going to come down here. Are there any like rewards that you're particularly excited about?
I'm doing something for the very first time, which is a die cut hardcover edition. It's something that I saw in other Kickstarters that I look up to, and I love what some creators do out there. And when I saw the die cut hardcover, I was like, man, I have the perfect opportunity to do this, because so here's the thing, Adagio, it features interior arts by two different artists. So you have Sara Prado. She's doing the artwork for the real world, while Brown is doing all the dream sequences. And then they each have a different style, which is dirtier and watercolors and rough, sort of have a ludic feel to them. So go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, this is what I really, really love, and how you can tell like the book is really good. So one of the big things that I've always been behind is that especially with regard to a graphic novel, there should be, it's not just in the panels that you're telling the art, but in the actual construction of the comic itself, where, you can push something from good to great. So for instance, in Snow White Zombie, I change artists every major story beat because I'm mainly cribbing from Sandman, but fairy tales like dreams are weird. They have multiple tellers, and there's things that can happen in them that could happen nowhere else. So every major story beat, I'm switching to a different artist. What I love about this is you've kind of taken that sort of meta thinking, making like the story itself, like the way it is presented, tell the story for you. And I love that you're going back and forth between two different artists.
Yes.
That's absolutely a brilliant. How did you think of doing that?
The first artist that I talked to about this project was Brown. I've always been a fan. We've been working together for 10 years now. He's done stuff for the Thinkers before. We did One-Eye Jack, which is a series that we're wrapping up the last chapter. And I remember telling him the idea, like at the time, the only idea that I had was, what if you could stream your dreams online? Because I always remember my dreams, and I most of the time I love what I dreamed. Like they're so cinematic and so strange. That I always want to tell people, and that's how the Adagio came to be. I was like, well, what if there was a better way of sharing my dreams? And then that's how this came to be. And when I talked to Brown, I wanted to do this with him just because I feel that his artwork is dreamlike, it's dreamy, it's lucid. And so he was the first one that I approached for this project about 2 or 3 years, even before this was an actual project. And I didn't even have a story. And I toyed with some ideas. I toyed with being a film noir where a detective uses dreams to find a killer or some stuff like that. But it felt similar to other things I've seen, So it was tough arriving at an original story. And then by the time I did, I felt like I wanted to make a commentary about social media and how that's influencing our lives, and how people, they care more about what they post than what they actually get to live. And then the story started to take shape, and I brought in Sarah, and I very natural that Sarah, I needed I wanted a female artist to bring some sensitivity to the story, some sensibility, because I'm dealing with topics that are very sensitive. And when I started talking to Sarah, I wasn't quite sure how to mash together Brown and Sarah, but I knew already that Brown was going to do the dreams and then Sarah was going to do the real world. But what was fun was to find out how I would mix those up together and still keep the flow of the narrative in a way that didn't feel broken. So that was something that we got to be creative while working on the actual book. Like we knew we were going to separate dreams and real world, but when I was writing the script, I started to get sort of cheeky, as in like, oh, you know what, I'm going to have one panel from Brown mixing up with the real world because people are watching these dreams, and then I don't want to give up spoilers or anything like that, but the more I played with the concept of one art for the dream sequences and one art for the real world, I really starting to get crazy with them and have fun with them.
Yeah, well, it really shows. You can see how much effort and joy you and your team are putting into this. You can always tell when somebody's like doing a comic because they need to, because this is a story that they have and that they're passionate about. When someone's just doing a comic because you can get some money for it sometimes, very rarely, but so these kind of passion projects are really where some of the absolute best work is done. So this overall, what would you describe this as? Because when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing, honestly, a little bit of Sandman, particularly here, but also, it's got the sci-fi angle. And the thing that I immediately think of is Inception. So what, if you can do this meets that, what is this story?
It would be a Black Mirror meets Inception.
Oh, that's so cool.
Interestingly enough, I've never seen a single episode of Black Mirror, and then I've heard it hundreds of times that Adagio is not only a Black Mirror episode, it's a damn fine one. So I'm proud of that. So I mean, it's flattering when people come up to me and compare my work to something that's been so successful, And then I haven't seen a single Black Mirror episode, but the thing is, so again, like I knew that I wanted to place this story in the future, just because of the nature of, I think we're gonna get there. It just seems natural that. So something else is, so the story came from my desire to share my dreams with people around me. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the more I thought about it and the more I started to connect that with social media, dreams for me, I see them as the most intimate thing we have. Like, there are dreams that we don't share with anybody. We're ashamed of them. Like, we get scared by them. Maybe we dream something that we never thought would be possible. And it just felt to me that that's where we're going as society. Like, if we were allowed to share our dreams, I'm 100% sure that a lot of people would do it. And they would not hesitate or think twice to share the most absurdly private, intimate things. I think some people share.
Dreams would be showing up on Pornhub quite frequently.
I'm sure. Like look, you can, I see so many people sharing so much that's supposed to be personal and intimate, and people just share for likes and maybe for influence and maybe for money and power. But so that the story started to come together when I went through that angle. Like, I dropped the whole noir feel, but I always knew it was going to be in the future. I'm more convinced than ever. Like, we published this in Brazil originally in 2018, so it's been 6 years. And a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, I saw an article that this Japanese inventor or scientist was able to use AI to present, to broadcast, if you will, dreams of their test subjects with a 60% accuracy, which is bonkers. Like, so this is going to happen. I don't know if it's 20 years from now or 5 or 100 years from now, but I really feel that Adagio is bound to happen. And I think that's the trademark of good sci-fi. You see something that it's naturally going to happen. So when I started writing the script, I wanted to ground to reality as much as possible. So I looked up at tendencies of the future. So people say that one of the things that might save the environment are bioluminescent plants that you can have around the house, that you're not going to need any more power. BFR, was this crazy notion by Elon Musk that you can go from anywhere on the planet, like 2 different dots on the planet. So say New York and Shanghai or New York and Seoul. You can do that trip in under 2 hours, and literally you're shooting up a rocket into the space and just go around the Earth. That's BFR. It's actually called Big Fucking Rocket. So I started using like that those real world tendencies into the book. And then the more I did that, the more it started to resemble, cyberpunk or Blade Runner. And, Inception was obviously a big influence. I love that film. I think I've seen it, I don't know, like 50 times. But I think
I've watched Inception a lot of times. Haven't watched it 50.
Yeah, no, I just love that movie. I love the soundtrack. I listened to it while writing Adagio. So, and just to give people the gist of it. So, in this future, you can, stream your dreams online, and then the celebrities of this future are the people who are able to have lucid dreaming.
No,
I studied that a little bit. It's not that hard. It's not uncommon. I think 3 or 4 people out of 10 have lucid dreaming, which is where you are totally aware that you're dreaming, so you have total control of your dream. And then people get to have fun with them. Like, they know they're dreaming, so they get to have fun. I, for one, I'm not a lucid dreamer. There are ways you can sort of push through and maybe force yourself to have lucid dreams. I tried a couple of times. One of them worked. It was fun, but it's not something that happens naturally. And then, so in this future, people that can have lucid dreams, they started having lucid serialized dreams. And I always figured that, that would kill entertainment as we know it. Why would you waste millions of dollars on a mega budget feature film, when, someone by herself, they can just dream something insane, which is going to be super successful. So that's the world of Adagio.
I mean, it would basically be like, a writer, assuming that if a writer has that ability, let's say me or you, and we can dream whatever we want. And I mean, as far as entertainment goes, yeah, that's a one-person show, because your brain and your creativity are what is creating, the images and the story. So, yeah, I can see why, really talented lucid dreamers would be the celebrities in that world, especially when you add in the social media component, because of the virality of particular dreams.
Yeah, but the story really, really came together. I was actually halfway through the script, and I knew I still haven't cracked the story. I still didn't have the best angle possible. I knew that there was this young girl. She vies for fame. She wants to be famous. She has a friend that's really popular. They're in high school, and she can't have lucid dreams as much as she tries. For the love of her life, she can't. And so I knew that was the angle I wanted to play. I knew there's going to be something called fairy dust, which is something completely influenced by Inception. So, which is like a powerful sedative that also that also works as a stimulant for brain activity. So you use that, and then it sort of helps you have lucid dreams as well. Immediately puts you to sleep. So I knew those elements were there, but I did not know how would I have Kaya be famous. Like, what would make her stand out? Like, what's so different about her? And then, I literally had a lightning bolt hit me with the idea that, okay, so if you have a platform that everyone's posted their dreams, surely there's going to be some sort of firewall, or not they're going to be censoring the content, but if they perceive something that can be, that can harm their users, they're going to limit the range.
Shadow ban.
If you have
ban dreams.
Yeah, but Instagram does that already. If they see something there they don't really approve, they're going to limit the viewership, the readers, the reach of the post. So I thought of something similar, and that's with nightmares. So if people start broadcasting nightmares, that's not pleasant. So that's something that Adagio immediately is going to they're not going to censor it. It's still going to be there, but the content's not going to spread out. It's not going to reach anybody. So I cracked the story when I was like, okay, so I have this. So what happens is, so when Kaya uses fairy dust for the very first time, she it's not, she doesn't want to, but it sort of kind of happens that she has a lucid nightmare. She chooses to have a nightmare. Then the AI that sort of controls the environment doesn't know what to do with it, because why, it doesn't know what to do. Like, why would someone consciously have a nightmare, have something scary? And then she cracks it, her nightmare goes viral because, people still love horror films. They still love horror content. Like in this future, there are no more films. So the horror genre sort of fell through the cracks. Nobody really knows about it. And then Kaya revives it. And it goes viral. She gets super famous because she basically launched the horror genre within Adagio.
That is absolutely brilliant. First off, I think Ron Martz, who's a mentor of mine, he writes Green Lantern and Silver Surfer. He says that the biggest compliment one artist can give to another is, "Why didn't I think of that?" And I'm sitting here just like, "Oh, why didn't I think of that?" Because, this is a beautiful concept. What I really love about it also is this is one of those rare stories, like Doctor Who. And several others where literally anything can happen in your story. Like if you want to bring somebody in from, I don't know, the 17th century, you can do that. If you want to do a story about a nightmare becoming viral, essentially, and jumping from one person to the other by means of inspiration, you can do that. So you have a level of freedom with this series that very few writers have. Now, the flip side of that is sometimes that can be daunting. So you mentioned you cracked the story. How do you see this, just the one book, or is this going to be continuing as a series?
Well, I published that 6 years ago, and I never went back to it. I've rattled around with some ideas in my brain, I'd love to keep this going. I'm not so sure whether I'd like to continue Kaya's story, the protagonist. Mm-hmm. I feel that her story that I got to tell with this is pretty much done. Maybe I'd love the opportunity of maybe improving on it, or maybe build upon certain elements, because we were limited, particularly on this book, by a number of pages. We had to fit the story within the next amount of pages, just because of the cultural grant. So we were a little bit limited. So there are elements that I'd love to develop further in maybe another media, but I feel like this story is complete. The thing is, I love the universe. I love the idea that, like you said, I can do anything with it because it's dreams. And there's just so much for us to do. I'd love, for instance, to take what happened in the first Adagio and then do something else entirely with a new cast, but influenced by what happened on the first one. So the horror genre is out there. The genie is out of the bottle. You can't put it back, even though, stuff happens with Kaya and then how that influences her. Her story might have an ending. And then, of course, this book has a beginning, middle, and end. But now the horror genre is out there in the world. So how is that going to impact users, other dreamers, sponsors, that kind of thing?
Oh my God, a commercial in your dream.
I know. So this, I love how this story feels very personal, and it's on the micro level. We're looking at this through the eyes of one character, Kaya. Mm-hmm. But I'd love to explore the world around it and how she impacted the entertainment of that world,
Absolutely. Now, to be mindful of your time, by the way, because I don't want to take up too much of it, but there's a lot of, I could talk to you for hours, I have a feeling. So we're looking at your premiums here. So the first one, $1. That gets you your name included in the thank you session, which is great. I normally sell that at $5, so I'm glad you democratized it. You get your first PDF at $10. And how many pages is this graphic novel?
It's going to be 112.
So $10 for 112 pages is phenomenal, and they look like is it all full color?
All full color.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. I always get a little disappointed if I open a book and it's I don't mind black and white comics if there's a reason for it, but like if I give to a Kickstarter, I'm not paying too much attention. I get the book and I open it, and what I thought was going to be color is black and white. I'm always just a little like, So it's good to know that this is full color. So then we have the soft cover paperback at $30. That's again great price for that, 96 page. And then you've got the hardcover at $40. Yeah, that's hardcovers are getting really expensive to print these days too.
It is absolutely, yeah. Like for instance, I did the trade paperback about 4 years ago, and it was a 232 page, and it's basically the same price as printing this now, which is less than half.
That is. Yeah. So yeah, 40, just so you guys know, if you're watching, when I'm saying what a good deal 40 is, when I'm at a con, I'm selling my paperback. Now, granted, it's with my signature, but I'm selling my paperback for 40. And my hardcover is running, 60 to $75 with my signature. So if you're getting a hardcover for 40, jump on that immediately, particularly when it's something like this. All right, and then we have the die cut. So you mentioned that you're doing a die cut hardcover. So what is the difference between this and the others?
Right, so I'm excited about this one, and this was the perfect book to give this a try, because like I said, we have two different artists. So when we did the cover for Adiago, the first one, I wanted both styles in there. And then, so the original cover is the one we're using for the soft cover. So it has the girl Kaya sleeping at the center, and then you have elements that Brown painted with dark watercolor around it. But the thing is, both artworks, they exist separately. So I figured that, this is great if I can do a die cut. Like I can do a brand new cover of the dreams and everything that she's dreaming around her sleeping. I already have her sleeping, so it just felt like this is like if it turns out the way I really want it to turn out and how I planned it, I think it's gonna be a fantastic addition. Like you have literally two cover, like one cover over the other, and then there's a window through that you can see the girl, and then when you open, when you flip the screens, you got this gorgeous all red around her sleeping. So you have, and I thought about it, it's like when the covers close, when they're on top of each other, it's like there's so much noise around her because it's everything that she's dreaming and everything that people are watching. You flip that and it's quiet. It's just her sleeping. So I love that contrast. Like she's sleeping peacefully and then there's nothing around her.
Sorry, sneezed. Continue. Sorry, I didn't mean you can continue.
No, I was not. I'm looking forward to seeing both covers together, and then this whole effect of being too much noise around her, and then you flip the page and just her peacefully, nothing around her, just her in her bed sleeping.
Now, this is so cool. Again, this is another example of just being creative on the meta level of performing your storytelling, not just in the words, not just in the panels, not even just on the page, but on the book itself. That's, the kind of, when I started out in New York, one of my first plays, Mike, one of the very first things I had happen was, during the play, I had actors set in the audience to stand up and actually join the play as part of an open mic. Once you can do that, it's like you're adding an extra dimension to the reading experience, or in that case, the live theater experience. Now, so you got the die cut at 55, then you have the retail combo. That's both of these at 60. Then we've got the exclusive bundle. So what separates the exclusive bundle from the earlier ones?
I'm excited about trying new products for Adiago. Because usually, so it's easier for me to build a Few Encouraged campaign based on the fact that it's a continuing series. I have so many other books in that series that I can offer combos. And usually that's what drives the pledges up, But with Adiago, it's a single volume. It's a closed story, beginning, middle, and end. So I needed something that I could offer backers at a higher tier that are interested in putting in extra money, but want to get something in return. So for this one, I'm doing a deck of cards with bronze watercolors. That's straight from something we did with One Eye Jack, another project that I've worked with Brown, and he designed the most beautiful deck of cards. So it's like, I know that works. So I'm literally just transporting that, porting that over to Adagio. And then one of the things that I thought would be pretty cool is if I offered like a dream journal, something that people can write their on. With Adagio on the cover. So, this exclusive bundle, you get the hardcover die cut edition. You get the like a full letter, smaller notebook that you can dream, like you can write your dreams, and then you get the deck of cards and a booklet with my signature and a metal card to go along with it.
Your metal card, the one that I would have to go behind my green screen here to get it, but the metal card that you did for the Few and Cursed is one of my favorite things I've ever gotten in the mail from a Kickstarter.
I love those. I've been wanting to redo them for a while. They're not particularly, inexpensive. They're not cheap to manufacture. So it needs to be something special. And I think Adagio deserves this,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. No, I get you 100% on that. I had a guy at a con asked me like, oh, he saw my Snow White Zombie shirt and he was like, oh, where'd you get that shirt? And I'm like, well, I made it. And he's like, can I buy it? No. And he's like, and I'm like, because this is the only one I have left,
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, will you have more? No. Because they wound up being so expensive to print that if I'm going to charge somebody $50 for like a t-shirt, I would rather have a larger profit margin on that, because then I feel like I'm not being as respectful of of what they're giving to the Kickstarter.
No, I agree. You got to offer something that's it's worth the squeeze. It's like. There's some products I'd love to offer, but like you said, I just think they're so expensive to make that the profit margin just doesn't justify. And then we don't want to put ourselves in a difficult spot where people are like, oh, this is too expensive. Like, yes, I know charging $50 for a T-shirt is expensive, but it's the only price that I can charge. If I wanted to make a profit out of this, so. I'd rather not do it. It's a fine balance, finding that profit margin.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, one of the other things that, because I did want to talk a little bit about the Few and Cursed. We've got this little trailer I just noticed here. How long is that? Can we play it, or can I just tell
it? 3 minutes. It's fun. Yeah.
Oh, that was cool. And do we have more?
No,
Or?
Just clearly a minute and a half of credits.
Okay, that's really that is neat. Let me see, can I get back out of that? All right, well, so let's get into this right here. So where did The Few and Cursed come from? And also, I was getting in the shots in that, especially right at the beginning, I was getting like early season Supernatural, as in the show Supernatural from Eric Kripke. Was there any Supernatural influence on this, or are they just dovetailing?
No Supernatural influence, because I never watched that show.
Watch the first 5 seasons, ignore the rest.
I know it exists, and I've seen spots for it. I know it's the Winchester brothers. I know that Jeffrey Dean Morgan plays their father. Like, I know did some bits of it, but mainly because I'm just like I'm attuned to what's going on, with film and TV. But
you can pick stuff like that up, from the zeitgeist, or what is it? 2 people created a character named Dennis the Menace on 2 different continents.
Oh, wow.
They tried to patent Dennis the Menace on I'm sorry, they did patent Dennis the Menace like in their country, the US and the UK, on the exact same day. But also the characters were different. Like the UK one had like black hair and was a lot more of a hooligan than the American one with the blonde hair.
Right. Jeez, yeah. Well, that's crazy. But so The Thinkers, Fabiano, he's the co-creator, he's the artist, Fabiano Neves. We decided that we wanted to do like a short story, like a 3-page story. And for another book I was doing at the time, it was an anthology of short stories called 321 Fast Comics. And I asked Fabiano what he wanted to draw, and he was like, well, I'm a big Western fan. I love Old West stories. My dad used to read them. And I'd love to do a Western. I was like, well, I went to film school, so I studied the genre, and I've seen, the classics in school. I wasn't particularly keen on it. Like, my father didn't really care much for them. And we are 2 big film buffs. Like, we go to the movies every week. We watch a lot of film. So I told Fabiano that, sure, we can do a Western, but we're going to do my version of it. So I wanted to take some of the genres and bend them to something that felt more pleasing to me. Like, I'm always my first audience. Like, I write stuff for myself, and then I just invite people to, hey, I did this for myself. You're welcome to join and see if you like it as well. So I came up with the idea of, instead of having a cowboy, have a female protagonist, have a cowgirl, if you will. Mm-hmm. And then Fabiano came up with a concept that resembled very closely Sharon Stone in The Quick and the Dead. Mm-hmm. The funny thing is he didn't know about that movie. He had never seen it. Like, I had, and I was like, this is too close to what's the actor's name? I forgot. I just said it. Sharon Stone character. Yeah. So I suggested, let's make her a redhead. He loved the idea. That's how it came to be. We did a 3-page.
I remembered Sharon Stone in that movie as a redhead, so she's not a redhead in the.
No, she's a blonde. Yeah, she's a blonde. She's Sharon Stone. Yeah, she's playing herself as well.
I feel like there is some sort of character that within you really tapped into something that feels almost archetypical with the redhead. There was even a college production of the Snow White Zombie play, and one of the actresses had like long, like perfect red hair. And I was just like, oh, what? I was very happy with where Rapunzel's design came from. She's like the character Spanish Moroccan, but when I saw like a red-haired Rapunzel, I was just like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so that's how it came to be. We did a 3-page story. Fabiano really enjoyed the character. He was the one that was like, hey, let's do something bigger with this. So I started writing the first book. And then here we are, like, literally. And then the story behind this action short that we did is there's this girl, the one that plays the redhead. She looks exactly like the character. And
I was going to say, where did you find her?
Look, it was a true coincidence. She's a pop culture journalist. She specializes in games now. But when I met her, it was at a Comic-Con in Brazil, Comic-Con experience. I think it was the first or second edition that they were doing. And she stopped by my table, and right there, like we were doing the first one. We didn't even have two books yet. And I saw her, I was like, dude, like you look just like her. Like Fabiano drew you on this without ever, like I think she was still graduating from college. Mm-hmm. Like she was working on her thesis, project, and that's why she was at Comic-Con or something like that. So that's
surprising, by the way. Did you ever hear Alan Moore's whole story about how he encountered John Constantine in real life?
No, I have not.
Yeah, he was in his in his town where he is, and there's like a coffee shop in there, and he's talking about how like when you write characters and you put that out into the world, because of his particular like mystical magical beliefs, it's like it makes those people more real and draws them to you. And so like literally he's, in his, coffee shop getting whatever it is that Alan Moore gets. I assume something really weird. And he just like looks across the room and he's like, there's John Constantine, exactly like the way that, he was drawn and the way that, Alan Moore pictured him. So maybe it's a little bit of that.
Right.
Some magic to yourself. Now,
no, I just wanted to wrap that up because it's a funny story that because she works with, journalism, she covers pop culture. Every year we would see each other at Comic-Con. So once a year, I would see Carol the Redhead. Every year, once a year. And then when the pandemic was over, she did some work for IGN. She was one of the main, on-screen personalities that they had in Brazil. And she did a lot of cosplay photo shoots for games, just as like editorial pieces for IGN. And then we ran into each other and she said, listen, there is this agency that they did all the cosplays. So basically, they're going to do the whole thing for you. If you hire them. So we decided to do a photo shoot just to have promotional stuff with Carol cosplaying as a redhead. But I went to film school. One of my best friends, he's a fantastic DP. And he was like, listen, you're going to have the girl wearing a costume. You're going to have a terrific location. We found like a horse ranch. It's like, I can get a camera. Let's just shoot something. So we had 2 weekends. The first weekend, we basically shot making of stuff. And then my business partner, Ron, he saw some of the stuff that we did. And then he was like, well, do you have one more day of shooting? I was like, yeah, we do. It was like, write something. Write a little scene. Write something that you can shoot in a couple of hours and do that. So that's how this short came to be. Obviously, we have no budget, though no special effects. We shot the entire photo shoot during the day. When the sun set, we shot this in about 3 or 4 hours.
That's really cool. And you can see. So were you the one who was actually directing it? Like, were you planning out those shots?
I wrote and directed. Yeah. So my background's in filmmaking. Like I went to film school and then I got a master's degree in film production.
I find there's such a great overlap between the type of thinking you do for film and the type of thinking you do for comics. Mm-hmm. I started out as a playwright in New York and beat my head against the wall that is the New York underground open mic scene, just art scene for about 10 years. Got some really great screenplay training from some of the greats, including Jacob Kruger, who runs Jacob Kruger Studios. So the education in film, I found that was invaluable when I started applying it to comics. Now, did you start off as a comics fan and then come back to it, or did you go from film to comics?
I grew up reading comic books. I was always a big Marvel DC fan growing up. I started to veer away from that in my early 20s into Image Dark Horse stuff. And then the more I started working with indie comics, the more I got into the weirder, not really known stuff. It's been a while since I picked up a Marvel DC book, but I've been reading a lot of indie stuff. But film is always my first passion. I wrote and directed a feature film back in 2012 that Fox bought a few years later.
Wow.
It allowed me to finish it up, and then Disney bought Fox and shelved the project.
Oh, damn it.
I know. And the funny thing is, so last year after so you guys have Hulu in the United States, and then in Brazil they launched something similar called Star Plus, which is the streaming for everything that Disney owns that's not Disney. So they finally released the film last year, and they did like a small theatrical run in December actually, and then they released it in their streaming Star Plus platform in February. So 12.
What was the name of the thing?
It's Bullet with No Name.
Bullet with No Name.
Yeah,
Google that right now.
Portuguese and just in Brazil. I don't think you're going to be able to watch it in the United
I won't be able to watch. Well, maybe if I was sponsored by NordVPN, I could tell.
Yeah, maybe.
It's been a perfect ad transition. Hire me, NordVPN.
So film has always been my number one calling. The Lost Kids was my very first graphic novel, and that was a direct adaptation from a feature film that I wrote and developed while pursuing my master's degree. Mm-hmm. And I love that experience so much because, look, when you're writing scripts, film scripts, you can actually make a good living out of that without nothing ever seeing the light of day, nothing ever being produced. And for me, it was frustrating to write stuff that, maybe nobody would ever read other than industry people, and they read with another set of eyes. They're not reading to enjoy the actual story script. They're looking for elements that they can use and they're profitable, and then, they're, risk avert. So when I did that,
so much of the funding, so much of the film industry is like fear-based decision making.
Yeah, and I get it. It's a lot of money, dude. Like filmmaking is expensive. So, and that's why I turned to comic books. I adapted The Lost Kids. I love that experience. I love that my stories resonated with a lot of people. It connected to a lot of people. And then I did the 3-2-1 Fast Comics. Then I did the Film Curse, and then I spent 10 years working with comic books. And then after I did this short, and after seeing my film getting theatrical run and then going on streaming, I'm determined this year to go back to filmmaking and then make that sort of like, now the balance, the scale is comic books and film, but eventually I want to sort of find a balance between them.
That's perfect.
I want to write and direct my own stuff, and that's. I've had the opportunity before to do something with the Film Curse where I would sell off the rights, but that would frustrate the shit out of me. Just because, look, if I see one, I could sell the rights and never see the light of day, and then I killed my chance in making something with it. So that's one scenario, a very likely scenario. The other scenario is someone does take it, make something, and it's no good. I would always think to myself, I could have done it better. But the other scenario, which is also more likely, the unlikely scenario is someone takes this, makes it into a super giga mega hit success, and then obviously I would be happy for it. But I would also think maybe I couldn't do it better, but the potential was there that I could make something, and I didn't. Someone else did it, So I want to do it myself.
That's a great attitude to take towards art in general. I'm heavily influenced by Bill Watterson. And obviously, I have merch that I sell and stuff, but I really think that as artists, we have to maintain a level of control over our work, and that we need to, it's often better to create something you love rather than get a payday, even when a payday would be nice.
I just want to, but there is something there that I'm not this attached to other materials. It's because it's the Red Hats, the Film Curse is the one property that I've been, surviving on, making a living out of for, the better part of a decade. But at the same time, I love something that, oh my God, what's the name of the guy that wrote Dark Tower? Stephen King. Thank you. I forgot the King. It's COVID, I guess. So I love a quote that he has in his book is that he doesn't care whether his stuff gets adapted in a good or bad way or how it happens. He's a writer. He loves to write novels. His novels are always going to be there up on the shelf, no matter how shitty the films are.
That's a very good point.
To have. But the thing is, like, for me, I like to think of myself as a film person first, as a filmmaker first, and a comic book guy second, even though comics have been, the prominent part of my life for the past decade. But I want to change that up. I want to switch that up. So sometimes that saying applies, sometimes it doesn't. Some stuff, like, I wouldn't mind selling off the rights and see what someone else does with it. The Few and Curse, though, I'm very precious with. Like, I want to do that one. I want to do it,
No, I know exactly what you mean. Well, that's freaking awesome. All right, so I have taken up almost a full hour of your time, and thank you so much for coming by to talk about this. Now, people on your thing, I did want to mention this because also I wanted to tell you inspired yet another thing in me. All right, so we're going to come down here. This is your amazing creative team. I highly recommend everybody watching go pledge to this Kickstarter. You are going to be so freaking happy that you did, and then come back and see the rest of this. But I'm just going to gush at you for a second because one of the other things that you were doing that I didn't see anybody else doing. So you can see here, this is all of the merch he's created over the years for the Few and Cursed, and you will notice down here
campaign.
So say what?
That photo was a single campaign.
Oh shit. Okay.
Because that one was for the trade paperback, and that one was nuts. It had almost 3,000 backers, so I had to keep coming up with stretch goal items. And then when I was putting together, at the time, I was still doing all the packaging and shipping myself, crazy enough. When I saw my desk, and like, this is your base package. Like, this is insane. Like, that was like, that never happened again. That was 4 years ago. That was 2021, actually. So 3 years ago. That was insane.
That probably had a lot to do with COVID. Also, your book.
It did. Yeah, because we launched that at the end of 2020. So it was at the height of COVID. Yeah.
Well, what I wanted to mention was, so if you look down here in the bottom left corner, you've got the coins, and I actually have yours up here normally, but I don't see it. But you actually inspired me to create 3 Snow White Zombie Challenge coins. So we had the King coin, we had the Prince that I had, and then I even created one for Darudi's Shadow of the People, which is but yeah, the only reason I made these is, well, one, I needed a Kickstarter premium, but 2, I saw the coins and I was just like, damn, why didn't I think of that?
Look, I'm not taking credit for that. I'm sure I saw someone else doing it. I don't even remember who did it for. Look, I think that's one of the things that, even if I was to remember where I got that from, that person, I'm sure, got it from someone else.
Yeah, it's an obvious thing you can do with a Kickstarter. I'll admit that. But, again, the reason I'm doing it is because I saw you doing it first. I learned it from watching you. Now, the funny thing is also, because you're talking about filmmaking, so like Darudi, for instance, that began as a feature-length screenplay. It was actually the first one that I ever had optioned, which I was really excited about, and I got a commission to write a prequel for that by Enon Films, who I've been working with, and they've actually helped out on some of my Kickstarter videos. Are you doing the editing on the videos yourself, or do you have somebody else doing that?
No, the Kickstarter videos, I leave all of them to Gustavo Pinheiro. He's a fantastic animator, editor. We started working way back in the day. I did get my master's in editing, so I know my way around Avid and Adobe Premiere and Final Cut Pro. But I like to cut more traditional storytelling films, TV, like, the traditional, what you see on TV and on film. Yeah. Like that, like, I'm not too comfortable with the TikTok, YouTube editing style. That's why, or the Kickstarter style of film videos. I leave that to Gustavo. Yeah, but even then, like I did 2 shorts for the Redhead. So one of them I left to Gustavo to cut it, and then the one you saw I cut it myself.
Oh well, yeah, that was really cool. Just all right, so we are coming down to the wire. We're almost exactly at 60 minutes. So not to take up your whole evening. Do you have anything else you want to plug? You want to talk about to the audience? What have you been waiting to get out this entire time?
Go back to Adagio. I really wanted to have a hit in my hands. Let's see if we can get to first the 20K and then 30, 40, 50. I don't know. Like, I don't know where this could land. I'm excited. Like, I came up with some pretty interesting stretch goals. I'd love to hit them all and make those projects.
Absolutely. And, 20,000 you're definitely going to do. And people watching now go and he's literally less than $400 away. So put him over that, and you've got 36 days left to go. So yeah, you keep, getting this out there. I think this is
I think a good tip for everyone watching is like, this is a slightly or larger campaign that I'm used to. I love to keep it under 30 days or less. It's something that Kickstarter also advises creators, campaigns around 30 days is best. But the thing is, I'm going to be in Charlotte for HeroesCon in June. And I really wanted to have the Kickstarter up and running when I'm doing the convention, because that's a great opportunity for you to introduce the book, talk about it, give out some postcards that people can scan QR codes and then, head over to your Kickstarter page. So I extended by a week or something like that. So I would be with that online. And I didn't want to move my start date, just because I have other Kickstarters planned. We're doing a new viewing course in the summer. There's something coming up in the fall as well. So,
yeah, I've been kind of working to try and do something similar. I've got 3 series now, and the idea was to build an engine so I could always be funding something, always be fulfilling another thing. And it's been a little rocky at the very beginning, but it's definitely getting there. And I'm getting to the point where it's gotten too big for me to fulfill it on my own. So,
yeah, it's awesome, isn't it?
it's a good problem to have, but damn, it's an annoying problem. Yeah. So what I'll say, guys, again, go follow Felipe. He does some amazing work. And I had given $1 to this before. I'm actually going to get the book. I'm going to get the die cut one immediately after this. Because
thank you so much, Brenton.
No, you know what? Thank you, because that again, what got me was the actual die cut, was the concept of that for the cover. I really want to see how that comes together.
Oh, I'm curious about it myself. I can't wait to actually see. Like, I talked to the printer, so I know they can do it. Like, I made sure that was possible, but I cannot wait to actually see that effect and hold the book in my hands.
Yeah, well, like I said, people like you are doing some really incredible, groundbreaking work with comics that you just don't see out of the bigger companies usually. Everything often gets mired in superheroes. I mean, I know the Western as a genre is like, for the most part, like you say to a producer, you want to do a Western, and they're like, eh.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see. And, this is Neil Gaiman always said, like, just tell the story that you want to tell. There is no market. Don't try to serve something that doesn't exist.
Exactly. Look right for yourself first. Make yourself happy, and then eventually people will jump on the bandwagon.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you. This has been Insurrection with Brenton Lengel, special interview edition with Felipe. We used to be on the radio, but then I decided I liked having my Friday afternoons. So here I am talking to slightly less people, but having a much more fun. All right. And we are out. By the way, guys, the link is in the description, and I also dropped it into the chat. So head on down to that. Felipe, you want to say something to get us out of here?
Yes, I'd love to thank you for the invite to do the interview. This was a lot of fun. The hour just flew by. Thank you so much for the chat. It was fun. I appreciate it.
Awesome. All right.